y'all. Welcome back to TNT podcast. I'm your girl Tasha.
I'm T.
So what we talking about today, babe?
So today we're going to be talking about Christopher Columbus. Now, I think for the most part, most children, when they're learning about how America was discovered, we learn about Christopher Columbus, 1492, but we also learn about like the Pilgrims and Indians and things of that nature. And for the most part, the way they teach it is everybody was kumbaya. And it's understandable because history can be very brutal, you know, and
History
not
is brutal.
and not everything was kumbaya.
I mean, listen, you can't tell a 6 or 7 year old that people were murdered and died of, diseases.
Yeah, right.
They have to keep it,
Look, if for me as a
really
kid,
light.
I would have preferred that narrative. I would have preferred that versus the kumbaya.
Well, do you remember coloring in the pilgrims and stuff?
Yeah. And I remember like outlining the turkey
hand,
with your hand and
yeah.
everything. Yeah, I remember that. So they like
Good
make
times.
fun and games about it.
Yeah.
But
Imagine coloring in slaves and shackles. I'm sorry.
all right, yeah, it's not funny. All right, but Christopher Columbus was one of those narratives that was like very prevailing through middle school and high school, and so I didn't really know the true history about what exactly happened until later on, in which I still don't know the full scope of it because to me, I didn't know or think he was a bad guy, especially when people were saying, let's cancel Christopher Columbus Day and replace it with Indigenous People Day. And so I have a video that's kind of going to go over the history, the real history of Christopher Columbus and maybe why so many people hate him.
Oh.
And so y'all can leave your thoughts down below in the comment section. Y'all can let us know what your thoughts are about Christopher Columbus or even Pilgrims and Indians or how you were brought up.
Oh, wasn't there like this poem about Christopher Columbus sailing the ocean blue? You remember that?
No, I don't know.
Oh, okay. Well,
I remember Yankee Doodle.
Yankee Doodle Dandy.
Yeah.
How'd it go?
Yankee Doodle went to town riding on a... And you know what? I'll probably have to look into that because it's probably...
Stuck a feather in his hat and called it macaroni.
Right, exactly.
Which makes no sense.
Anyway, let's go ahead and jump into this video. Coloring in slaves.
We all know how Columbus came to the Americas with his 3 ships. But who did he find there? And how were the Spanish greeted? This is the story of the first contact between the Native American and the Spanish people, and what followed after. The Caribbean, 1492. On October 11th, 1492, the Spanish were approaching the Bahamas from the northeast when they saw something interesting. Land was first seen by a sailor named Rodrigo de Triana. But Admiral Columbus, at 10 o'clock, saw a light, though he was uncertain that he could affirm it was land. Afterwards, Columbus claimed he saw the light once or twice more, like a wax candle rising and falling. It seemed to some to be an indication of land. Columbus had to make certain that land was close. Columbus asked and admonished the men to keep a good lookout on the forecastle and to watch well for land. He made a statement saying that a reward of a silk doublet, along with 10,000 maravedis promised by the sovereigns, would go to the first sailor to see land.
Oh, wow.
At 2 hours after midnight, land was sighted at a distance of 2 leagues. Columbus ordered the 3 ships to halt and wait for daylight before going further. The next day, on October 12, 1492, after 2 months at sea, Columbus and his crew finally clearly spotted land. It's not known where they landed, but we can say for sure that they landed somewhere in the Bahamas. Having landed, they saw trees very green and fruits of diverse kinds. Upon reaching land, Columbus fell to his knees, thanked God for a safe voyage, and planted a flag in the ground, claiming the land for Spain. As the Tyenos, who had lived there for 1,000 years, watched from behind trees and bushes. Shortly after landing, many of the island's inhabitants assembled on the beach. The Tyenos gave them food and drink, gifts of parrots, cotton, and other goods. And the Spaniards gave them gifts of red...
What?
Do you believe that they seen these weird people that they've never seen before, and it was just like, here's gifts?
Yes. because
You don't think they were suspicious a little bit?
no, because they had never seen them or their clothing or the outfits that they have, and the story of what was documented about them, what they saw, they thought they were gods, and that was the same narrative that was with other sailors that were landing on these type of islands, like Cortez.
Yeah.
They said the Aztecs, they thought that they were gods. So I can see that them landing there. They've never seen men of that color. They never seen the clothing,
Okay.
and they probably thought that they were deities.
Eesh.
So and then they're the type of people that offer things to gods in order for good things to happen to them, like bountiful harvest or something like that.
Hats and beads. The Taino people had never seen white men before and thought they were gods.
Oh, there
Columbus
you go.
spent the next 2 months looking for gold. In December of 1492, while they were sailing east of Cuba, 3 ships under the command of Columbus approached the second largest island in the Caribbean, which they later called La Española. Just when he was about to return to Spain on Christmas Eve, his ship, the Santa Maria, ran aground and sank. The Taino chief, Guacanagari, told his people to help the Spanish and retrieve every salvageable item. A problem arose when all the sailors who had accompanied Columbus could not fit on the 2 remaining and smaller ships. So a fort was built using the salvaged wood from the Santa Maria, and 39 men were left behind at a fort Columbus called La Navidad. Shortly after, Columbus set sail for Spain, taking some of the natives and birds, foods, and plants to show the king and queen. For the second voyage, Columbus was given a fleet of 17 ships and some soldiers. Upon arrival at La Navidad, Columbus found the fort burned to the ground, and all 39 men he had left behind had been killed. It seems the sailors left behind had misbehaved in the form of rape of the local women and theft of anything they saw that they wanted.
Oh shit.
One of the local leaders, named Caonabo,
Well, why am I surprised?
So he left initially, returned to England or Spain, and I guess he told them about all the gold and everything, and they gave him more resources to come back. And when he comes back, he finds his men slaughtered, and then the fortress burned down.
I mean,
And so they were raping the women.
Yeah.
And taking gold and
But
stuff.
and it's crazy hearing this story because I know what happens eventually to the Taino people.
They get wiped out, right?
Mostly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
had met with the other leaders, and all but one agreed that gods would never have behaved in the manner that the Spaniards had. And they decided the Spaniards had to go, so they eliminated them and the threat they posed to their people. Columbus vowed to find Caonabo and retaliate. More fortified places were rapidly built, including a city founded on January 2nd, 1493, and named La Isabela for the queen. From that point on, life as the Taino knew it ended.
Damn.
The Spaniards took revenge for the destruction of the Fort La Navidad and also took slaves. Columbus forced the Tyenos to work in the gold mines searching for gold. Those who refused were killed.
Jesus.
Each adult over 14 years of age was expected to deliver a hawksbill full of gold every 3 months. Or when this was lacking, 25 pounds of spun cotton. If this tribute was not brought, the Spanish cut off the hands of the Taino
my God.
and left them to bleed to death. Taino women were given to Spaniards to do with whatever they wished.
Oh,
The
shit.
fields, unattended, failed to yield enough food for the Tainos and the Spaniards, whose supplies had run out. All were hungry. Columbus found Caonabo, they tricked him in order to capture him, and he was put on a ship that was sent to Spain and was never heard from again.
Oh, wow.
Many Tainos starved to death. Others died from hard labor. Many committed suicide.
Ugh.
Epidemics swept the island. They were beaten, tortured, raped, enslaved, and murdered. After 1496, the number of Tainos fell by about 70%.
What?
Guacanagari, the chief who befriended Columbus, also died soon. At this point, the Spaniards in La Isabela started a rebellion against Columbus and his brothers. The Spanish king and queen sent a royal investigator to calm the situation. Columbus and his brothers were found guilty for numerous crimes against both the natives and the Spaniards.
Oh,
Columbus
wow.
and his brothers were arrested and put on a ship to Spain. The Spanish authorities would allow him another voyage across the ocean, but they
What?
forbid him to visit La Española.
Wow.
He
Why
explored-
would they do that?
Wow.
Why? if
Because he
they-
made the money.
They charged him.
They did,
with
but-
crimes,
yeah, but-
and what made them think that he wasn't going to do it again?
Well, he probably was, but you know, the thing of it is, it seems like it was one of those situations where he got caught, you know, but he made the crown a lot of money
So
through gold and slaves.
So just punishing him was really just for show.
I think so. Yeah. Otherwise, they would have executed him.
Yeah.
You know, but for the simple fact that they wiped out 70% of the population.
Yeah, and
through
then
forced labor and rape and all this other
Yeah.
stuff. In hearing that the natives were committing suicide, you got to think about like how hard their life had to be
Right.
in order to just be like, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore, and just kill yourself.
And then the queen was like, "Yeah, go ahead and go on another voyage."
Yeah, money.
And now we're but now we're like celebrating, you know, for this man. He has a whole day.
Yeah.
You know, he.
Oh, in America.
Right.
Yeah. Well, maybe they might disclose that because obviously he
think
did he discovered the Caribbean, but he didn't discover
Well,
North America.
Well, the Americas discovery.
Okay,
of
the Americas. Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
So
Interesting.
the
I'm gonna
Caribbean
take it back a
ocean,
little bit.
but they forbid him to visit La Española. He explored the Caribbean for 2 years and then returned to Spain, where he died in 1506. Meanwhile, on La Española, the Tyenos, who didn't want to work for the Spanish, fled for the hills.
wait, it's
The
missing
Tyenos
something.
ruled in a mountain.
So how he died? They didn't mention America, like
North America?
North America.
Yeah, he didn't discover North America, or he didn't. I don't think he touched land on North America. He just was in the Caribbean.
No, that don't make any sense.
What do
So
you
why
mean?
would there be? No, that doesn't make any sense because we are told he discovered America, like North America. You know,
All right. Well, we found it. We found a gap. We found a gap in the education system.
maybe not. I don't think it's an education. I think it might be this video.
Okay. I don't think he ever went to North America. I think that he was just in the Caribbean, and
No.
and they found land, further to the north and to the south. Maybe other explorers did, but I think maybe Columbus was one of the main ones to kick off that, European exploration.
So what were you taught in school?
I was taught that Columbus discovered America. I didn't know he landed in the Caribbean. I didn't know
At
any.
all?
No, at all. I was told or raised that Columbus discovered America, and that
like-
was it.
I feel like we looking at-
1492.
Okay, so this is kind of interesting, and I'm a little confused because I was taught that Christopher Columbus discovered America, or what I thought to be the United States of America.
Yeah, right.
Well, of course, it wasn't United States of America at the time, but what we now know as the United States of
Right,
America.
yeah.
But he was only in the Bahamas.
Right, the Caribbeans.
Yeah.
So, and that's what I was taught, because when we were learning, they always would say he discovered America.
Yeah.
Maybe he landed in the Caribbeans first, but then made his way to North America. I don't know. That what was just burned into my memory as far as about Christopher Columbus, but he wasn't. So who discovered America, like North
Yeah,
America,
I'm
current
looking-
day?
I'm looking it up now because I'm like, why is there Columbus Day and he didn't even set foot in what we consider the United States of America?
Right.
And so it says Juan Ponce de Leon. He's
Oh,
from Spain, and
okay.
we have a street.
Yeah. Ponce de
named-
Leon. Right.
Yeah.
Here in
And so
Atlanta.
it said Ponce de Leon. He's from Spain. In 1513, he is credited with being the first European to set foot in what is now known as the United States, landing
Oh.
on the east coast of Florida while searching for the mythical Fountain of Youth.
Okay.
So there should be Juan Ponce de Leon Day.
But you know why there's not? Because he didn't find gold.
Why you gotta say it like that?
Yeah, well, that's what happened. Christopher Columbus, he found gold. He was making people money. This guy, it looked like he was just on a bros trip looking for a Fountain of Youth.
A bros trip?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a little bit confusing because when you're a child and you're learning about history, in America, they only teach you
Christopher Columbus
and the United States as being America.
Right, yeah.
Like North America, what?
Look, I didn't know who Ponce de Leon was until I seen the street. So there's that.
And you Googled it?
Yeah. No, I didn't Google it. I just found out I just found out what he was actually famous for.
Gotcha.
Let's go ahead and continue this video.
Their leader was a woman named
Let me.
La Española. He explored the Caribbean for 2 years and then returned to Spain, where he died in 1506. Meanwhile, on La Española, the Tyenos, who didn't want to work for the Spanish, fled for the hills. The Tyenos ruled in a mountain region. Their leader was a woman named Anacaona. She was the wife of Caonabo, the chief who had led the attack on the Spanish fort years earlier. In 1503, the Spanish governor requested a meeting with her in order to break the resistance. During the meeting of 80 Taino leaders, including Anacaona, the Spanish governor Nicolas de Ovando ordered the meeting house to be set on fire to burn them alive.
Oh.
Anacaona was arrested and accused of conspiracy for resisting occupation and executed.
Damn.
Prior to her execution, Anacaona was offered clemency if she would give herself to one of the Spaniards, which was common in the era.
Oh,
Standing with her
shit.
fellow Tainos in solidarity, the Taino indigenous female leader chose execution over colluding with her Spanish enemy.
All right. So let's unpack this for a second.
It's a lot to unpack.
All right. So they're operating as different. They're not getting along on the island.
Of course.
The
And
Spanish decide that they maybe want to talk things out, and they lure them in, the chieftains or whatever, to all meet up to have a discussion. And instead, they burn down the building they were in.
the Tainos burned
Right.
down the Spanish.
No, the Spanish burned down the Tainos in the meeting building.
No, she burned them.
No, I thought they said the Spanish burned them.
Nah.
I thought they said the Spanish tricked them. So that was his strategy to get all
was
the
a
leaders. It
setup.
was a setup to get all the leaders in one place,
And they fell
so that
for
he
it.
could burn them alive. And then
then
they got
capture her.
They caught the leader Anacaona to arrest her,
Yeah.
and they were going to execute her, but told her if she would be granted clemency if she would sleep with or marry
Yeah.
one of the soldiers.
Oh, be with, not
Yeah,
marry.
be with. Yeah. They ain't marrying those.
But it's very sad, because it seems like the fact that they still came to the meeting house. It's like
they were still trying
open.
good faith.
To I don't know, working something out.
Yeah.
And the way the Tainos were done, like, now I know Hispaniola is now the Dominican Republic and Haiti.
Okay, yeah.
So because for some reason I thought the Tainos were only in Puerto Rico, and like this story should definitely be taught. I don't know at very young ages, but I had no idea that they went through something as horrible as this.
Yeah.
And they now bear the names of their enslavers and their murderers. you know?
Yeah, because they have Spanish names.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Anacaona was arrested and accused of conspiracy for resisting occupation and executed. Prior to her execution, Anacaona was offered clemency if she would give herself to one of the Spaniards, which was common in the era. Standing with her fellow Tainos in solidarity, the Taino indigenous female leader chose execution over colluding with her Spanish enemy. her refusal creating her legend. Ana Kaona remained rebellious and independent until her violent public death. She was executed by hanging at the age of 29.
Jeez.
Another Taino chief, Kotubana Mahuo, was ruling in another area, successfully resisting the Spaniards for a while, until he suffered the same fate as Ana Kaona. But there was one Taino who came to be known as the most resilient of all. His name was Enrique. He was also in the meeting when the Spaniards burned 80 Taino leaders. In fact, one of them was his father. Enrique managed to escape. After a Spaniard governor named Valenzuela raped his wife, Enrique started a revolt in 1519 with a large number of Tainos from the mountain range. He and his followers started a community in the mountains and set up a scouting network. Enrique instructed his men to fight only in self-defense, to kill Spaniards only in the course of battle, otherwise simply to deprive them of their arms. The Spaniards often attacked them, but the Tainos pushed them off, time after time. During one battle, Valenzuela himself was captured, but even his life would be spared. Enrique ordered his release. The Tainos were able to continue the rebellion and waged guerrilla warfare on the Spaniards until 1533, because of their better knowledge of the region. As the Spaniards were not able to control the rebellion, Spain's monarch, Charles V, signed a treaty granting the Tainos the rights of freedom and possession. Enrique settled in the mountains with his 4,000 followers, the last members of the Taino culture. By this time, the native population was rapidly declining due to European diseases. At the end of the century, the Taino population was officially reported extinct.
Oh.
Jesus Christ.
Well, I was watching a video of how I think there are some people in Puerto Rico that are discovering their heritage, and they know they're Taino, and they're getting like the tribe,
right.
I don't want to say back together, but kind of, because they said they were wiped out.
Yeah.
But I don't know if there's any organization on in the Dominican Republic or Haiti for people who have Taino ancestry.
Yeah, I think it's very low, but it's very odd because a lot of, from what I've seen, a lot of Latin American or Hispanic people, they actually look down on their native populations. And we've seen that in Mexico. We've seen that even with Dominican Republic. A lot of people have native heritage, but what did they say? They call it their conquistador bloodline. And so they were proud of the features, that the European Spanish features that they had over the native features. So very odd, but very disheartening learning about the history of this this island, but also what Columbus did and what he brought to that island. And it does kind of baffle me how we celebrate that in America, because
it's cringy.
Yeah, that's not good. And I didn't know this.
Yeah.
All we knew was Christopher Columbus discovered America.
Sailed the ocean blue.
And he sailed the ocean and discovered America, and
voila.
And he got along with the natives.
Ta-da!
And that was it.
America.
But I didn't know about the enslavement, the chopping off of hands, the brutalizing of women. It's understandable why people would want to cancel.
Extinction of a people.
Yeah, it wiped out 70% of the population.
I think they said they eventually were all gone, but we're coming to find out there were some.
I mean, the thing of it is, you can look at the population now. Yeah, so they if they didn't get wiped out because of suicide, famine, murder, and all that other stuff.
Some people say they do have Taino ancestry.
No. What I'm saying is that they were bred out as well, because when you look at the island, which is Dominican Republic, a lot of Haiti, a lot of them have the Spanish features, and so basically their lineage was bred out. you know. But yeah, this
Not
is
completely. That's
yeah.
what I'm saying. It wasn't completely wiped out. Or if people are saying they have
Oh, okay, pure
ancestry.
pure Taino ancestry.
No,
Okay.
not pure. They're
Oh.
like they're a mixture of people. Like they're mixed people. Like they have Spanish ancestry,
Yeah.
African ancestry, and Taino ancestry
Right.
as well. So that's what I was saying.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah. So very heartbreaking to learn this, and I don't know how I would have handled this, learning this as a child. But you said you would have wanted to know.
Oh yeah, younger
so
the better. Younger the better.
Yikes.
Because this, I think
couldn't handle this.
See, and this is the thing. I think this would prepare young people for how the world really is. Because the world is ugly.
Can kids maintain their innocence as long as possible? I think
I think
when
as
you
a
get
kid,
to high school,
I think as a kid, your innocence, your innocence dies the moment you find out Santa Claus isn't real.
no, but imagine finding out Santa Claus isn't real, and oh, by the way, Christopher Columbus murdered all the people on the island of Hispaniola.
Yeah.
Happy Columbus Day. No way.
man.
But let us know what
Yeah.
you think in the comment section down below. We would love to hear from you respectfully.
All right,
and
well,
if you what?
Look, I think the next video we should check out is why we have a Columbus Day.
Oh, okay.
How did that come about?
Well, stay tuned for
Why
that.
do we have a Columbus Day instead of Ponce de Leon Day?
Yeah, stay tuned for that. Subscribe to the channel, like this video, and we'll see you in the next one.
All right, y'all.